I made $1,000 in 30 days real estate investing with $50,000. But this might not be what you think it is. I'm not talking about flipping houses, wholesaling, buying long-term rentals. I'm actually talking about real estate lending. So instead of buying the house, I actually lend to the real estate investor. Here's how it all happened. In 2023, I had a bookkeeping business. I was doing bookkeeping for real estate investors, and I had $50,000 of extra cash saved up. I wanted to buy a rental property. I started doing some research. I started looking at the MLS. I started looking at local real estate. I spent 2 months trying to find a good house to buy. I quickly realized it's a lot of work trying to find a good rental property or trying to find a good property to fix and flip. It takes a ton of work and a lot of experience and expertise that I quite simply did not have. I had $50,000 though. I wasn't sure what to do. But remember, I was doing bookkeeping for real estate investors. So I learned about real estate lending, sometimes called private money lending. I learned about this by accident through my bookkeeping clients. I started asking questions. Who are these people? Why are you paying them so much money? It looks to be like interest payments every month. How does this work? I quickly realized these are just regular people, you and me, regular people who have some extra cash laying around, and they are lenders on real estate properties. But the important distinction here, these are not owner-occupied houses. So these would be considered business loans on non-owner-occupied houses. There are a ton of laws and regulations that go into real estate lending if the buyer is going to live in the house, called an owner-occupied house. But because these are non-owner occupied houses, the regulations are different. They could vary by state. So as always, you definitely want to do your research and talk to an attorney before you do anything. I'm just quite simply sharing my own personal experience. So real estate lending. So how did I make $1,000? Well, I had a bookkeeping client and he needed a quick loan to purchase a property. So I lent him $50,000 to buy a property. So I had a promissory note between myself and my bookkeeping client, the real estate investor, but there is an additional layer of security. It's not just a promissory note, there's also a mortgage. So my loan was secured by that property that I lent on. So if something were to happen, God forbid something happened to the borrower, my loan is secured by a mortgage. So if my borrower defaults on the loan, I could foreclose on the property and I could take ownership of that property through what's called a first lien. I have first lien on that house. Just like you, whenever you applied for your mortgage at your local bank, your bank has first lien on your property. So very similar. I'm lending to real estate investors, and I did my first loan back in 2023. I lent one of my bookkeeping clients $50,000. It was a quick turnaround. He ended up selling the property 30 days later, and I made $51,000 back. So I lent $50,000. I made $1,000 profit, basically. Interest, income on the promissory note, on the loan, on the mortgage through real estate lending. It was at this point, I did the math and I said, $1,000 on a $50,000 loan in 30 days. If I look at that on an annual return, that's pretty good. Let me try to do more of these. I took that $50,000. I grew my bookkeeping business. I saved money. I got to the point at the end of 2024, I had $700,000 of my own money lent out. I quickly ran out of money. But I knew I wanted to continue doing more real estate investor loans. I needed more money. So I went to banks, I went to credit card companies, tried to get access to capital. It wasn't working. So I did some more research, probably on YouTube, and I learned about investment funds. I can start a fund. I can legally raise capital from other people, use other people's money, and then do the same thing that I've been doing with my own money. But now I just have access to more money. So that's exactly what I did. I started Zip Capital, an investment fund. It's called a real estate debt fund. So I invest in real estate debt, mortgages, loans to real estate investors. So I started, it's a 506C SEC compliant investment fund. I paid attorneys way too much money to draft all the legal documents. It's an SEC compliant fund. With that, it's only open to accredited investors. So I can offer legally 8% up to 12% fixed returns only to accredited investors. So I'm making this video just to spread awareness about what I'm doing with real estate, private money lending, my experience, my history, how I got started. I started my bookkeeping business almost 6 years ago, and then I started real estate lending with my own money in 2023. And then at the beginning of this year, in January of 2025, I launched Zip Capital. To this date, I have almost $3 million of other people's money raised in Zip Capital, and I have about $1 million of my own money lent out. So right now, currently, I have done more than 60 real estate loans, and currently I have $4.5 million lent out, and I only lend on Pennsylvania real estate. So I'm offering 8 to 12% fixed returns to investors into my fund, and then I turn around and charge real estate investors 12% annual interest, which is pretty close to what I'm offering my investors. So the way I make money, full transparency, I also charge sometimes an origination fee, maybe a processing fee, maybe an underwriting fee, depending on the borrower. So I make my money, full transparency, I make my money on those additional fees. So if you want to learn more, there is a link down below in the description of this video. Feel free to register on my website, check out my website, send me an email, send me a message, comment down below on this video. If you have any questions, I would love to chat with you. But the key here, you have to be an accredited investor, which means you either have $200,000 of annual income or a $1 million net worth. So do your own research, check out to see if you qualify as an accredited investor, and then register on my website and let's chat. Let's see if we can't work together. Like all things, all investments carry risk. Definitely recommend do your own research. Nothing's guaranteed with this investment, but if you want to chat, if you want to learn more, register on my website, zipcapitalfund.com.